Russia launched a $2 billion missile package at Kiev. Ukraine answered with about $3 million in drones, and flipped the fight. You're about to see how a layered sensor network, not a single silver bullet, turned a baited defense into a decapitation strike.
A night of terror in a capital under attack. Civilians forced to shelter underground from this waking nightmare. Here with only heavy machine guns in the Sumy region bordering Russia. What's the feeling for you and for your team when you see the drones getting through?
Well, it's not very good.
We'll break down the 45-minute Shahid saturation, the timing of the main Iskander, caliber, Kinzhal wave, and the FPV swarm that severed command links in real time. If you care about cost exchange, reload windows, and how Intel Fusion beats mass fire, you're in the right place. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video.
Biggest Russian drone and missile attack of the war. Ukraine says Moscow fired 550 drones and 11 missiles overnight. Ukrainian troops in action against drone attacks.
The drones kept coming in the darkest hours. The largest such attack since the start of the war.
3 million beats 2 billion. That's the riddle. If you spend pennies to force a giant to swing and miss, who's really paying the bill? Russia staged a two-act show. First, 45 minutes of Shahid drones to soak up attention and bait Patriot and Iris batteries. Then a main wave layered with Iskander, caliber, and Kinzhal shots, timed to slip through any gaps and strike while high-end systems reloaded. The trap was simple and ruthless. Make Ukraine reveal radar arcs. Make them fire premium interceptors. Bleed magazines. Expose launchers. Once the first wave pulled defenders into the open, the second wave would arrive low, fast, and from multiple axes.
In the last hour or so, we have had more air activity. We could see anti-aircraft fire in the distance. We could hear some distant explosions.
It's a nightly battle for this territorial defence brigade.
We don't know if we're in for another night like we had last night. Last night was one of the worst in the capital in recent months, certainly in terms of the sheer numbers of drones.
Most drones targeting Kiev fly through here.
If you're in that chair, what would you do? Ukraine broke the script before the curtain rose. Weeks out, an integrated sensor net stitched together civil and military radars, passive RF sniffers, and NATO-fed data streams. That gave a living map of staging patterns, fuel movements, and comms shifts that signaled a strike window. So when the opening Shahids lifted, the feed already labeled likely corridors and decoy tracks. No panic. No flinch. Cost discipline kicked in. Jeopard 35mm guns took the front row, their radar cueing short bursts that turned drones into scrap without burning million-dollar missiles. Mobile fire teams with heavy machine guns hunted stragglers along power lines and river cuts. Short-range missiles cleaned up leakers over key sites.
An unequal fight.
You feel a slight sadness, but to be honest, as you have seen, you don't have time for emotions. One comes in, and another can come right behind it.
High-end interceptors stayed cold unless a missile demanded it. That's how you win the exchange, thousands to kill tens of thousands, not the other way around. This wasn't luck, it was doctrine. Russia leaned on mass and habits, fixed corridors, stacked salvos, pressure through volume. Ukraine treated the sky as a system of systems, sensors to see early, guns to absorb cheap threats, interceptors for the true killers, deception to force misreads. It's David versus Goliath, but with a calculator and a radio net. Meanwhile, timing became the whole fight. Intercept, then reload. Every battery has a seam after it fires, a short window where tubes sit empty and crews hustle. Russia aimed right at that seam with low-altitude entries from several bearings, hoping one angle would hit while the racks were bare. On paper, that math works, but then the seam turned into bait. As the main wave committed, a low-profile FPV swarm went out, not toward the missiles, but past the front to the brain and the bloodstream.
Now, as you say, President Zelensky and Donald Trump have spoken today, and after that meeting, President Zelensky said it had been an important and fruitful meeting, and that the two leaders had discussed ways to improve Ukraine's air defenses. All of this, of course, adds to President Zelensky's argument that this country needs more help in defending its skies, and that help seemed to be in jeopardy earlier this week when news came that the United States was suspending some of its arms deliveries to Ukraine. We don't know exactly what that means. Possibly more Patriot air defense missiles from the United States, possibly help for Ukraine in finding them elsewhere.
Rear area command nodes, electronic jammers, and resupply convoys. Launch crews used preset GPS legs for the long haul, then shifted to inertial cues near target to ride through hostile jamming. They flew low, slow, and cheap. They hunted signals, antenna silhouettes, and convoy patterns drawn from the same sensor net that cued the defense. The first hits landed where coordination lived. A mobile jamming system went silent under a shaped charge. A missile convoy stalled as FPVs punched trucks at the head and tail, boxing it on a narrow stretch of road. You could watch the strike lose tempo in real time, data links cut, alternate routes blocked, resupply late by minutes that matter. Missiles still came, but now with poorer timing, less deconfliction, and fewer updates. Back over the cities, the layered defense held its nerve. Guns kept working the Shahid dribble that followed. Short-range missiles handled fast movers that slipped through. Only when a threat profile spiked did a Patriot or Iris fire, and even then, single shots instead of salvos. The goal was never to outshoot mass. The goal was to starve it of purpose. This is the story of turning a reload risk into a kill box. Ukraine didn't ask the interceptors to carry the night. They used them like scalpels. The real strike was upstream, at the nodes that told Russian missiles where to go and when to arrive. Cut the inputs, and even a hypersonic loses its edge. So when the ammo trains burned and the command vans went dark, the rest of the wave degraded into noise. The defense finished with fewer shots than the attacker planned for, not because the magazines were bottomless, but because the brain of the assault was gone. And once the brain is gone, the steel still flies, but it no longer hits with a plan. Kill the brain, and the missiles lose purpose. That's the lesson. Intelligence beats firepower when defense acts like a network. Sensors, timing, deception, and a steady hand at the console. So what would you do with $3 million? Buy more interceptors, or buy more eyes and FPVs to cut command and resupply at the route? Comment your choice below. If you want deeper breakdowns on tactics that flip the exchange, subscribe. Next, we stress the model. Can swarm and sensor tactics hold for weeks, not minutes, against sustained salvos, counter-jamming, and operator fatigue? We test scale, training pipelines, and the logistics of a long war.